Well, hey, Gundam Maniacs, welcome to another episode of Gundam Explained. In this one, we're actually back with Witch from Mercury with episode 7, titled Shall We Gundam? So, a kind of interesting name for an episode, but also interesting to see what we get back into since last time. But before we get started, if you haven't, please subscribe, and as you're watching the video and you think it's pretty cool, give it a like. Also, check the links in the description for ways you can support the channel, but let's get started. Alright, so it starts off with Pale Technologies, saying that the Ferract is indeed a Gundam, like they didn't know it was. I'm confused about that stuff a little bit. A really cool shot. I like how they kind of came up with the blueprints here, kind of showing, the Ferract and that it's a Gundam. So now we're getting some background information with the corporations, the companies, because I'm trying to figure out what the main conflict here is in terms of the grand scale of everything. There was conflict before. It had to do with the different corporations, the different machines they built, and it kind of ended where it was controlled what kind of machines you build. And this is kind of the conflict re-emerging, but I think back to the other Gundam. You have Zeon versus Federation. You have like the different sides and wing. You have Celestial Being and Double O. So it's not too clear yet what the conflicting sides are. It just seems to be, which could be true, or I'm going to see a lot of this in this episode, is at the end of the day, what may surpass war is just money. And maybe that they kind of are part of the same thing. But this episode really focuses on the money aspect, and I'll get into that. And really it ends with them wanting to figure out what Delling has up his sleeve. So that further makes you not want to trust anything he says in this episode if it seems that these individuals don't trust him. Yeah, and then we have Murine Soletta tending to a tomato garden. Nice. And so Soletta's still worried about Elin, and it sounds like they're saying Carries in this. It's like that the C sound doesn't, it's not Ceres like I thought. Isn't that like a moon of Mars or something? But regardless, so that's still the focus with Soletta right here, is where Elin went, and after what we saw. But then they're talking about there's this is sort of get together, a gathering of the main three branches, and Elin's part of that. So this is again where it's the school, the students, that focus, but now we're drawing attention to the corporations, the adults, the parents, the companies that are above all this. So it could be that we're getting kind of more into the political nature of this Gundam. And then, showing this 15th incubation event party hosted by Bennett Group. And really, the purpose of the incubation event party is where people will come up with ideas for projects that the corporations can put forth. And now this is determined by the funds that are used to back the corporation. And then really cool shot here because we're seeing these mobile suits, and they're kind of customized and just kind of looking unique. If they don't sell specific model kits of these are just asking to be customized anyway. And then, so Soletta and Murine show up dressed pretty nice for this. So it almost has kind of like that James Bond intrigue, or not dissimilar from something like, we get in the earlier UC Gundams, even Double Zeta, where there's that kind of banquet that's going on. The characters are mingling with other people, and that's what kind of sets off some of the plot here. All right, and Murine is kind of talking about the whole idea behind this, and they're kind of dropping some, huge factoids about Murine, which is going to be then called up in the next few minutes, but how, she really has an understanding of the financial aspect of the corporations jumping into projects, getting investments in order to move forward with those projects. And really, again, this is just setting up what's about to happen. And we see Elon again, and this is that other one that clones could be based off of. Again, we're still figuring this out, but I guess he would typically show up at these parties. He sees Soletta, Murine there, and he's like, okay, it looks like I gotta kind of show up and mingle. And then Shadiq shows up. This character has kind of shown up here and there, but hasn't seemed to be too pivotal, except for maybe something brewing. And then he's showing up here, and he seems to be into this aspect of, I guess, what the houses do, the whole corporation thing. You know, again, you could even change this and be like it's really like Earth Federation or Xeon or whatever, and then the different people from those groups kind of like mingling here. But yeah, it's just the corporate approach. Soletta's mom shows up, Prospera Mercury, and so she gets to meet Mjolnir. And you know, Prospera Mercury's an interesting character. She carries so much confidence with the way she acts, and it's been alluded to that, you know, with the mask, this is kind of the Char of the series, even though you would consider her to kind of be the good guy, because Soletta seems to be the protagonist that has the main Gundam. But if you look at the past of what Mercury, or Prospera Mercury, has gone through, where she's trying to take revenge, it has that Char element to it. So as I'm seeing her character, I sometimes don't know what to expect if she's gonna pull something, especially when she's talking to Mjolnir. And the way she was talking to her also made me think she might not like Mjolnir. She was making a comment about her pride, but we'll get back to that here shortly. And yeah, during that discussion, I mean, she's making it clear they understand, you know, what Delling is like. I mean, Mjolnir is pretty much saying that how much she doesn't like him. So there is that commonality between Mjolnir and Prospera. Yeah, suppressing the Vanadis incident 21 years ago. So this is kind of a key pivotal factoid about what happened before and where we are getting to now. And I think we're just going to start seeing more information about that revealed. Interesting flashback, and we don't get too many details of this, but she's just talking about for reasons why she doesn't like her father, and we see her at a younger point in her life, you know, looking at someone out at that doorway, and then what could potentially be where someone she's close to has passed away. We'll be getting those details later. So Soletta, again, clumsy, has this fall, breaks glass. I think Ghoul's brother, we don't see Ghoul, but he makes a remark like, why does Ghoul like her? And so that's something else I find interesting, because when Soletta won that fight against Ghoul, he really seemed sincere about the fact that, wow, I lost to you now, you know, we'll get married, whatever. Even though then later on it would seem like he kind of had an attitude towards her, only because maybe it's because it seemed like she wasn't interested back into him because of how she would act. I know this seems confusing, but to see Ghoul's brother even comment about what he sees in her, it's like, oh, so does Ghoul really like her then? I really do think he's going to end up really just being a good character, a good guy along with our protagonist here. So they meet, and he even like sort of is able to, during the conversation, apologize for not showing up, and make it seem truthful to Soletta. And you know, this brings back something else, because that was something, okay, how are they going to address that? And the other issue that I had when the Gundam Fair Act came up the first time, I was wondering, okay, how are they going to address that? And they didn't initially. And I thought that was strange. I was like, okay, they're going to have to address that soon. And I see how they're doing it, because now that Elon is one of the major pieces of this, and I guess in order to push forward the Gundam narrative, for us as the viewers to understand what is this mystery surrounding the Gundam, they are now coming back to that, talking about the fact that the Ferric is a Gundam and the Ariel. And they will be jumping into that a bit more here shortly. It's kind of weird, actually. Really weird. You see those, Witch Sisters? I think they had a name or something. They're just like coming out of the ground on stage. And then you see Soletta and Elon come out of the stage also. I guess just to talk about how they both have Gundams. But then it gets dark, and it's kind of weird what happens here, because it's almost like they're celebrating them, accepting them, but at the same time, it's almost like trying to make Soletta feel bad because she is in a Gundam, and she didn't know she was in a Gundam. Her mom said it wasn't a Gundam, and now it's almost like she's being shamed for it. Yeah, let me show you something. It just keeps getting creepier and creepier, because then we see like the full portraits of these creepy ladies talking to everybody and Soletta while everyone's watching, and that platform she's on just keeps going higher and higher. It's getting super goofy, I guess, trying to make the viewer feel uncomfortable because Soletta's being put in an uncomfortable situation. And so it leads to, we're just going to have to destroy the Gundams because they're not allowed to be around. And so Miorine jumps in, trying to explain that, look, if the aerial is as awesome as it is and it's not affecting the pilot, maybe we should be using these. And so she's like, okay, let me propose an idea. So this is where there's that callback to the beginning where she's talking about how she's a master in the finance area. She understands the investment situation that's going on during this incubation party, and she puts forth an idea to consolidate the two companies that are potentially working on these Gundams. And it gets pretty interesting from there. No one is wanting to invest. It's at 0% after she gives the speech. And she figures out the only way she can get someone interested to trust is if she asks her father to invest. And so this is what then Prospera was talking about earlier about her pride, because I thought maybe that was supposed to be some sort of threat in a way. But I think it was in a sense of for Miorine herself. So then when she confronts her father here, she's thrown away her pride, begging, please, would you invest? And then once he does, everyone else does, and the project then gets the green light, the go-ahead. But the line here, the Gundam's curse is a heavier burden than you think, and he walks away. So curious what he means by that exactly. And could that have to do with that shot of Miorine looking at the potential deceased person that was in that coffin/box? Or there's something more to it. I wonder if it's interesting when we really find out in the end Delling is probably doing the right thing. I mean, he was the one that was to be assassinated, so it's kind of interesting to figure out what's going on here. And there we go. By combining the two companies, they call it Gundam Inc. So very interesting. That's where they get the shorthand Gundam from. Project Planner, Miorine Rembrandt. Investment amount, I'm assuming there's 240 billion. I don't really check zeros, but yeah, kind of again, this is interesting how they're going forward with the political rifts that were normal in Gundam when it's entities that control, land or colonies or space in terms of literal space that people can live in. Instead, it's corporations right now, and this is what is the center of conflict. And, Soletta's getting confirmation for the first time that the Ariel is a Gundam, and it is shocking her because she was trusting her mom, so I'm really curious what's going through her head here. All right, and that is it. That was episode 7, Shall We Gundam? I guess I could see where that kind of ties together. A very interesting episode. I kind of like how it's kind of... It took a departure from the school aspect, and there's still a little bit of that, but it's more of the greater overall ordeal with the corporations and the mobile suits and everything. So anyway, thanks for watching, guys. Let me know what you think in the comments below. We'll talk later.